Imagine a world where Lord Farquaad wasn't defeated by an unlikely hero. A world where Duloc wasn't just a quaint controlled kingdom, but a place of tyranny, where beauty was enforced by fear and power was absolute. In today's video, we ask, what if Farquaad won? How would the fairy tale world change under his ruthless rule? Welcome to an alternate universe where the tables are turned and the beloved story of Shrek takes a dark twist. In our original tale, Farquaad's downfall was inevitable.
Dragon here and I'm not afraid to use it.
A moment of hubris that led to his undoing. But what if, instead of facing the wrath of an ogre, he had outsmarted his opponents? Picture a scenario where his cunning plans pay off. The knights dispatched to retrieve Princess Fiona succeed without interference, the dragon remains subdued, and his military strength overpowers the rebel forces of the swamp. In this dark timeline, Farquaad's ambition is not halted by an unlikely hero. Instead, it blossoms into an iron-fisted rule over Duloc. His once sly smile now conceals a heart hardened by power, and his methods become increasingly brutal. Every citizen of Duloc is forced into a life of strict obedience, where even a hint of imperfection is met with ruthless punishment. As Farquaad consolidates his power, Duloc transforms from a picturesque kingdom into a dystopian regime. His once pristine streets are now lined with propaganda posters, and the air is heavy with an unspoken terror. Artistic expression is banned, and every smile hides fear. The fairy tale creatures, once exiled and free, find themselves forcibly rounded up in the name of order. Farquaad's reforms are not of progress, but of repression. The citizens are monitored at every turn, and dissent is crushed with a cruelty that would make even the bravest hearts tremble. In this twisted reality, the magical creatures, like the wise Pinocchio and the rebellious Three Little Pigs, are forced to work in his sprawling dystopic factories, their fates sealed under the boot of tyranny. In this alternate universe, the lives of our beloved characters take dramatic turns. Shrek, who once lived content in his swamp, is now forced into exile, a reluctant wanderer who sees the cost of Farquaad's victory firsthand. His home is invaded by Farquaad's soldiers, and the isolation he once cherished turns into a lonely, regret-filled existence. Meanwhile, Princess Fiona, rather than blossoming into her true self, is coerced into a life of subservience at Farquaad's side. Instead of the fierce independence we witnessed, Fiona is trapped in a gilded cage, forced to play the role of the dutiful princess, while her true nature is buried beneath layers of political manipulation. The spark of rebellion flickers in the hearts of those who still dream of freedom, setting the stage for an inevitable uprising that may yet challenge the tyrant's rule. But tyranny is never absolute. Even under the heavy hand of Farquaad, the human spirit yearns for freedom. In the shadows of Duloc, whispers of rebellion begin to stir. A clandestine group, composed of outcasts and former heroes, begins plotting the downfall of the oppressive regime. They share a common goal: to restore the magic and freedom of the fairy tale world. As the seeds of insurrection take root, a spark of hope emerges. The once dismissed Shrek and the tormented Fiona may hold the key to a future where love and individuality triumph over the cold, unyielding force of tyranny. Could the unlikely allies of the past find it in themselves to ignite a revolution? The answer, like all great stories, remains shrouded in mystery. So, what if Farquaad won? Would Duloc remain an unyielding prison, or could the embers of rebellion eventually overthrow tyranny? The battle between freedom and tyranny has just begun, and every voice counts in the fight for a better tomorrow. Yet what would that better tomorrow truly look like under the shadow of Farquaad's unyielding regime? Perhaps it begins as a faint shimmer of hope in the darkest corner of Duloc, an old blacksmith forging secret weapons, a hidden library preserving the tales of freedom, or a network of tunnels beneath the city where outcasts exchange coded messages of resistance. These small acts, insignificant on their own, could weave together into a grand tapestry of rebellion. And in this uncertain new age, even the simplest of actions might spark a movement capable of toppling the mightiest throne. Behind Duloc's towering walls, the factories roar day and night, churning out propaganda and machinery to strengthen Farquaad's iron grip. Posters bearing his stern visage line every alleyway, accompanied by slogans demanding absolute loyalty. Anyone who dares speak a word of dissent quickly disappears. Some say they're sent to remote labor camps, while others whisper of a far more sinister fate. With every vanished voice, fear tightens its stranglehold on the populace, Yet it's precisely this climate of fear that fuels the quiet determination of those who refuse to bow. Imagine Pinocchio, once an innocent puppet longing to be a real boy, now forced to work the assembly lines, watching in horror as mechanical knights roll off the production floor, soulless automatons designed to crush the spirit of any who defy Farquaad. Or the three blind mice, who've sharpened their other senses to survive the new order, scurrying through underground corridors to deliver contraband messages between pockets of resistance. Even the three little pigs, once known for their comedic squabbles, have transformed into stalwart freedom fighters, hoarding scraps of food and supplies to support the growing rebellion. High above the thrumming factories and watchful guards, Fiona sits in her gilded tower, an uneasy queen consort who wrestles with the knowledge that her cursed knights grant her the physical strength of an ogre. If only she could find the courage to break free from Farquaad's manipulative grasp. Perhaps, in the stillness of midnight, she glances out across the flickering lights of Duloc and imagines a world unburdened by tyranny, a place where she could embrace her dual nature without shame or fear. Unbeknownst to her, that very spark of yearning may be the catalyst that ignites the final confrontation. Meanwhile, Shrek drifts along the fringes of Farquaad's territory, torn between a desire for solitude and a growing realization that his inaction has allowed tyranny to flourish. His once tranquil swamp, now overrun by Farquaad's patrols, offers no refuge. Each step away from his home is a reminder of what's been lost. Over time, rumors reach him of clandestine meetings in forgotten catacombs and the faint strains of a revolutionary anthem carried on the wind. A reluctant hero by nature, Shrek wonders if it's even his place to intervene. Still, the pang of guilt gnaws at him, whispering that someone must stand up to the ruthless lord who has subjugated the land. And so, across the kingdom, disparate souls, fugitives, dreamers, and former adversaries find themselves united by a singular cause, restoring hope to a realm smothered by oppression. Donkey, whose relentless optimism has become a lifeline for many, roams the countryside spreading tales of legendary heroes and the possibility of a grand uprising. He spins stories of a day when Duloc's banners will be torn down, replaced by flags of freedom waving over a land where ogres and princesses, puppets and dragons can coexist without fear. Some scoff at his cheerfulness, labeling him a fool, yet others cling to his every word as if it were a prophecy. In secret hideouts, the rebels sharpen their swords and hone their wits. They whisper of a final stand, one that could topple Farquaad's mighty fortress and ultimately schematics of the most defenses up against the scale. Golden messengers are renamed by fairy tale creatures who slip through the city's nooks and crannies. A handful of brave souls to infiltrate Farquaad's consumed by paranoia that the seeds of rebellion are sprouting faster than he can uproot them. He commands the construction of massive walls around Duloc, installing magical wards to detect unauthorized use of fairy tale powers. Spies lurk in every tavern, eavesdropping on hushed conversations and sowing discord among potential allies. The atmosphere in Duloc crackles with tension. One spark could send the entire kingdom into chaos. Farquaad believes that absolute control is within his grasp, yet the more he tightens his hold, the stronger the collective yearning for freedom becomes.
You dare challenge me, ogre?